Sharks win 5-4, and they win the series in 7.
That was, well, you heard it. Can it get any bigger than that? An overtime goal in the 7th game of a Stanley Cup playoff game? Come on. And the player who got it late at night was Barclay Goodrow. Basically, I will tell you that the Sharks, they were down 3-0, and they came back via a controversial call that occurred on the ice. And the idea, I'll tell you a little bit about this, was that the penalty was not necessarily called at first, but the hit that was put on the team, as a matter of fact, that was the game plan and between the Sharks and what had given them their victory against the Golden Knights in a game that basically, if you could stay up late, it was absolutely a hockey game for the ages. Let me tell you here, it was in fact 3-0 Knights, and then incredibly, the Sharks came back when a 5-minute penalty was called. I'll tell you more about that. But first, here the Logan Couture goal, his second goal that tied the game.
Lead pass LeBanc on the right. He's across the line. Behind the back pass to Burns. Cross-ice play. Here's Couture. Winds up, shoots. He scores! An incredible comeback for Sharks hockey. And Logan Couture is mobbed by his teammates. He skated free.
But if that wasn't enough, then check this out.
Behind the net, Meyer gets up. Digs for the puck. Sends it around the boards. LeBanc will field it on the right point and stop it. He moves into the circle. LeBanc tees up, shoots, score! Kevin LeBanc has just put the Sharks in front in Game 7 with 6:39 to play with a brilliant shot from the right wing side. Crowd is going crazy.
Well, excuse me. Yes, as you might think, the Golden Knights descended in overtime before the game winner that you heard. But the situation was that the Sharks team captain, and again, if this was late in the game, maybe you didn't get this, but Joe Pavelski lay motionless with blood appearing after he'd been cross-checked by the Knights' Cody Eakin and then shoved to the ice by Paul Stastny. That resulted in the 5-minute penalty that had the Sharks come back and score their 4 goals. Impressive, doesn't it? But the problem was the call was not originally made. It wasn't bleeding, and you could tell that the Sharks were like, hey, you don't do that to this guy. And that inspired them. In many ways, I think that's kind of inspired the Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes, who play in Washington for all the marbles of the first round of the playoffs against the defending Stanley Cup champs, after Alexander Ovechkin has changed his role from top scorer to top goon. I don't get it. I don't think it's a good look for hockey. I think that it's not going to help out the Capitals at all. That's not his role, but it's the one that he's playing. And as a result, yet another team that should not be beating an established champ in the playoffs is now tied, and they've got the chance to be, if you can believe this, the 5th team in the Stanley Cup playoffs that are lower seeded to advance to the second round. And there are only 8 playoff series. But the Sharks are the higher seed over the Knights, even though the Knights were the defending Western Conference champ. And there was a lot of chirping going back and forth. In fact, there was a lot of talk that, had we ever heard coaches bench jockey like this before? Logan Couture, the Shark center, said, that by the 10-minute mark of overtime, there was nothing left for a lot of us after Sunday's double overtime game, running on fumes. And remember that DeBoer, the Knights coach, accused Gallant of being overly critical. And then Gallant responded by calling the Knights coach a clown. So this is going to be a great rivalry going forward. It already is a great rivalry. And so, excuse me, DeBoer, I said Knights coaching, what team? But there was a lot of talk that DeBoer was chirping a lot, that there was more chirping going on between the benches than you would normally have during a game. And so, yeah, physical play, going deep into over of playoff hockey. It wasn't the only series that was decided, and it wasn't the only series in which a team came back. That occurred in Boston last night when the Bruins were able to defeat the Maple Leafs. And when the world's slowest computer comes and starts working again, I'll try to play you some cuts from that game as well. But again, the Knights and fall to the Sharks. So the Sharks go on, if you will, pardon me, and trying to capture the Stanley Cup that eluded them 3 years ago when they lost to the Penguins in the finals. You've got them taking on now the Avalanche, and I think that makes them look pretty good to go forward to the conference finals. If you ask me, yeah, they're also hot. And so I'm wondering, it seems to me my gut says Blues and Sharks in the West, over in the Eastern Conference, which was where the strength of the NHL is said to be. Well, the Caps still have to get past the Hurricanes. If they do that, then yeah, you do kind of like their chances having Ovechkin, the star, and all this. But then, Barry Trotz against his old team, that would be delicious there with the New York Islanders. Anyhow, what we have here are we could have the Islanders and the Hurricanes, which would still have something of a local interest for fans around here, or the Caps. Hey, maybe that has some local interest as well, against the Islanders. Meanwhile, it would be Bruins and the Blue Jackets. I keep saying the Blue Jackets should have local interest around here. They're just up 23 from Kingsport. Story continue against the Boston Bruins. Somehow it's not quite as sexy as it once was in the NHL playoffs with all the big teams going down. The Lightning, the Penguins, and also certainly locally the Predators, not to mention the Calgary Flames. But Sharks Lightning series, it doesn't take too much out of the Sharks, just incredible. So there you have it right there. Just the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, I know that there was this big shot that was hit. Here, let's play it here. Let's play that shot. Go ahead. Here we go.
Lillard has it. No timeout. Getting into the front court. 10 seconds. Lillard out. George backing up. Lillard doesn't want to pick. Dame going for the win. A three-pointer for the game.
So the guy hits it from Grand Central Station. So what? They were already up 3-1 in the series. If they lost the game in overtime, you really think they're going to lose it? Come on. Yeah, it was a half-court shot to win a game. We've seen that before. You don't see in the regular season games that go, seventh game winner take all, season on the line, overtime, going on, exerting the athletes to, I got to take an IV at the during the intermission, that sort of thing, like you do in hockey. That's why I like hockey more than I like the NBA. I like Glenn White a lot. He's the new head coach at best season in 33 years. It was Rice who led them from 0-10 to a level of respectability and made playing on the football team cool again. Now he's at Cloudland. We'll find out why.
Buttermilk is undoubtedly